Hi, everyone. I'm Anne-Marie Green.
And I'm Vladimir Duterte. Thanks so much for joining us. We begin this hour with House Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes, who says he will no longer lead the investigation into Russian interference in the election.
In a statement, Nunes pointed to the distraction caused by the accusations of left-wing activist groups as a reason for his recusal. Well, both House Speaker Paul Ryan and the ranking Democrat on the Intel Committee, Adam Schiff, said they support Nunes' decision to step aside.
I think Chairman Nunes wants to make sure that this is not a distraction to a very important investigation. So he wants to go clear himself while this investigation continues on without any kinds of distractions.
I just want to express my appreciation for what the chairman decided to do. I'm sure it was a very difficult decision for him. But as he mentioned, I think it is in the best interest of the investigation. It will, I think, allow us to have a fresh start moving forward.
Eliza Collins is a congressional reporter for USA Today, and she joins us now from Washington. Good to see you, Eliza.
Good to see you guys. Good morning.
So you've been working your sources on Capitol Hill. What are you hearing from them? What are they telling you about this announcement from Devin Nunes?
Well, I think what we just saw Congressman Schiff say is this is kind of like a new leaf. We're moving forward. I will work with Chairman Nunes on other things, and this is a good first step. And that's definitely what you're hearing from Democrats and even some Republicans privately are, it's kind of a relief. This was a dark cloud, and especially the House investigation kind of turned into a circus over this. The ranking member and the chairman, who normally work well together, were fighting very publicly. The president was brought in, and then we saw on the Senate side things going really well, really bipartisan. So I think some House members are hoping it'll kind of get back to this bipartisan, where there's trust restored.
So walk us through what happens next, though, both in the House committee, but also this ethics investigation that Nunes is facing.
Well, this is all very new. It just came out shortly ago, so I don't know all of the details, but the Ethics Committee has said that they're investigating. They've confirmed that there is a formal investigation going on. And then on the Russia investigation, I think that we'll see Representative Conway take over. We'll see a couple of other Republicans kind of helping him on this. And Nunes is saying that this is temporary. So that's important to note. He's not ruling out coming back as chairman. But I think the investigation will continue as it was before. But there won't be this dark cloud, these questions over his relationship with the White House. He'll still be on the committee. So I think that that's not completely going to go away, and Democrats aren't going to kind of let them get away with it. But the investigation, this doesn't actually change very much, except for who the point person is leading it.
And speaking of those folks, what can you tell us about Congressman Conway? I mean, a lot of Americans will remember, obviously, Trey Gowdy from the investigation into Hillary Clinton and Benghazi. But Mike Conway, what do you know about him?
Well, I think the most important thing to note is that Nunes was on President Trump's transition. He's been a supporter of Trump, and while all the other Republicans are also supporters of Trump, I think the most crucial difference is that he wasn't on his transition team. Mm-hmm. So there's just that eliminates that first question right away. I mean, he's a supporter of Trump. He's said some things in the past about elections and Hillary Clinton and things that would definitely lead you to believe he was on, the president's side on this. But the transition team, the close connection with the White House is not there.
You eliminate that.
Right. So what about the other investigation on the Senate side? What's going on with that?
Well, the Senate side has been pretty private about it, and I think that is on purpose. That's to show, we're working together behind closed doors. They have, I believe, 7 staffers working full-time on this. Everybody has security clearances. Last week they had said that they had invited 20 people in for questioning. 5 had confirmed. They do not have anything publicly scheduled or at least announced yet, but it's definitely moving forward. And we saw last week Chairman Burr, who's the Republican, and Senator Warner, who's the Democrat, came out and basically said, we're working together, we really trust each other, we don't think this is partisan, this is the most important thing we've ever done. So they kind of, I think, calmed the waters and then stepped back out of the spotlight and are just continuing to investigate on their own.
Eliza, this is all unfolding, obviously, as the president prepares to head to Florida for a 2-day summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping. He previewed the meeting in an interview earlier. Let's take a listen, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Well, it's going to be very interesting. Nobody really knows. We have not been treated fairly on trade for many, many years. No president's taken care of that the way they should have. And we have a big problem with North Korea. We're going to see what happens.
So the hope is to get them to bring leverage on the issue in North Korea.
Well, we're going to see what happens, Pete. But I will tell you, we'll be in there pitching, and I think we're going to do very well.
So, Eliza, the president's sounding very confident there. He has hit China hard, especially on the campaign trail. There's a report out in Politico today that says, though, that because the president hasn't filled some key roles within the State Department, and China is coming to the table with a lot of experience in dealing with the United States, how is that going to play out? Tough talk in front of the cameras, but behind the scenes, what are you hearing?
Well, I think it's interesting to note that, yes, he has tough talk, and, but he also said nobody really knows, which is just a fascinating thing to hear, from a president going into a meeting with one of the most important leaders. But you're right. That Politico report basically said, Jared Kushner, who has no government experience, is going to be a lead point person on this. And Kushner, as we know, has a very wide portfolio. He's been tasked with peace in the Middle East, domestic programs, and now China. So I think you're exactly right in saying that there's just not that same amount of experience there. That being said, President Trump is a businessman. He's a negotiator. He's coming to the table with, he just got out of the TPP, which is that trade deal. There is North Korea. There is at least a conversation in that North Korea is continuing to fire ballistic missiles. They are continuing to test their nuclear program. So it is kind of a pressing thing. So he's going in with some things that they need to discuss. But I think he's right. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. And we don't know how the teams will interact.
But as a reporter covering Capitol Hill, and I think for the members of the viewing public who are watching this all unfold, I mean, the idea that Mr. Kushner, who just came back from Iraq, is now also going to be one of the key point person people for dealing with the Chinese government. These are experience, according to Politico and according to people who cover what happens in Beijing, key people, diplomatic people coming over from China here to the United States. The president has talked a lot about trade and about what China owes us. I wonder, should that give people pause?
Well, Vlad, I think that's the thing that everyone's kind of talking about. Jared Kushner is a good businessman, but he doesn't have government experience, and he has been tasked with so many different things. Dealing with China is very different than dealing with Iraq. So I think that no one quite knows, as President Trump said, no one really knows. I mean, it's just, we're trying to figure this out. Jared Kushner is Ivanka Trump's husband. He is young. I think he's like 36 years old. And so, it's learning as we go. But people are, I think it's just kind of that wait and see phase.
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting that they're having the summit at President Trump's golf course, because in China, the communist government there has been busy shutting down golf courses because they think they are places where businessmen and politicians conduct shady deals.
and there you go, 2 days at Mar-a-Lago.
2 days at Mar-a-Lago.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see yeah, exactly. Jared Kushner apparently is running everything. All right, Eliza Collins
of USA Today. Thank you so much, Eliza.
Thanks for having me.